Hey everybody, I'm Robert Tomlinson, the commissioner of the USA eBaseball Power League, and welcome to the Week 7 Roundtable. I don't know if we're calling this a podcast or what. I don't know what we're calling. We're calling this a video either way. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Week 7 Roundtable. I am here along with our league mates here. We are here with Compass. We're here with John. We are here with Slime. How's it going, guys?
Going great. Going good.
Going pretty good.
Definitely. Yep. We have a lot to talk about this week. All right. We like an absolute ton to talk about this week. So let's just go ahead and get right to it. Let's go ahead and get over to the schedule screen here and get things started here. And I think the first thing we're going to need to talk about here, DC Delegates and Chicago Curve. This was a makeup from Week 5. We're just going to cut to the chase on this one. Right now, the Delegates have won 2 out of 3 games. However, there was a bit of an incident in game number 2 that I would like to address first of all. There was an incident that occurred in the 10th inning of this particular game. Delegates had just given up a game-tying grand slam in the bottom of the 10th to the Curve. It was 5-1. Delegates had given up, had scored 4 runs in the top of the inning. Then they gave up the grand slam to Clutch in the bottom of the inning, which that was an epic moment in and of itself. All right, let's not sugarcoat that, right? It was a pretty epic moment, right?
Awesome. That was an awesome moment.
Really cool home run to have, man. Especially with Daigo with G contact. It's so hard to hit.
Yeah, coming off the bench too.
Yeah, you could say a league-changing home run.
Yeah, a little bit of one. So what happened after that is the reason why we have this right now, not scored, still in the 10th inning. So what happened afterward was Morimoto, who was the pitcher at the time of the grand slam, he was pretty much out of stamina at that point. And the Delegates, they took him out, and they technically did not have another pitcher available. They'd already used all their available relievers, and they decided to put in Sana, who had 1 game rest coming into this particular game. And what happened next was that the Delegates owner, Hokovi, they asked me what the penalty will be, and out of reflex, I pretty much said that it was a 1-game rest penalty on top of any rest that was accumulated. So he said he would take the penalty, and we went through the rest of the game. He got the final out of the 10th inning. Well, Sana got the final out of the 10th inning. Then we went through the 11th with no issues, but Sana was still going in the game. Eventually, the Delegates, they scored 2 in the 12th inning. Curve did not get any. So the Delegates at that point had technically won the game 7-5. However, at the time of the pitching change, Clutch, the owner of the Chicago Curve, they had filed a protest with the league admins about the pitching change and how they were still pitching, even going into the 12th inning, as if they were not on rest. So the league admins, we reviewed it, and at that time, we had come to the conclusion that the pitching change that was made had directly affected the outcome of the game. And this was made along with a rule change that we will talk about in a little bit regarding pitcher rest violations, as we did not really have a clearly stated penalty for rest violations in the rule book. We'll talk about that a little more later, but what then happened was that, and this was mainly my thing, if I recall correctly, that we decided to impose the forfeit penalty that was literally just created onto what happened in the because of what happened. So what happened then was the Curve had won the game via forfeit 12-5 with a 7-run forfeit rule that had just been created, put in place. However, Hokovy, as is their right, they protested that decision, which triggered another conversation with the league admins. And at that point, I was starting to get a little bit, I don't want to say anxious about it, but a little bit wary of, okay, did we make this right decision the first time? So what I did was we contacted our partners at USA Baseball, and they had discussed it on their end as well. Our contact with USA Baseball, they discussed it around the office, and the conclusion that they came to, and that we as league admins ultimately agreed with, was that the original punishment that we put on the original ruling that we made was unfair to Hokovy. And I agree with that assessment, despite me being the one that made that decision in the first place. So that meant there were a couple of remedies that could happen. One was honoring the original final score of the game, which would have been Delegate 7, Curve 5, or scheduling a replay, or at least a resumption of the game from the point of the protest. And I talked with both of the players about this after that ruling was made from USA Baseball, after my conversation with USA Baseball, and they have graciously, and I thank them for being open to this, they agreed to do a resumption of the game from the point of the protest that was placed. So what's going to happen is we're going to be setting up a new game. We're going to be getting it into extra inning rules because it happened in the 10th inning. And I've already laid out the logistics for both players of what needs to happen, all that good stuff. And I believe they're planning on doing it Monday afternoon. I can't say for certain yet. I'm going to clarify that after this recording is done, which is being done on Sunday night. But that is what is happening with Game 2 of Delegates and Curve. So, panel, with that explanation, do you guys have any thoughts on the situation? And I know that I'm here as the league commissioner. You can roast me as hard as you want. I will gladly take it.
Ooh. Okay, so with all this, it's definitely tough when, like a situation kind of arises like during the game where like user doesn't, follow the rules, exactly how they're meant to be, but like since Hokovy, ran out of pitchers and everything, he felt like he needed like a chance to win, and but like it ended up costing clutch on the other end. Yeah, I mean, with all the rules in place, like it's great that like you guys made amendments afterwards too. Mm-hmm. It does take a long time just to make like everything kind of fair, for both parties too, and I feel like this is probably the fairest of them all, other than like kind of leaving it to a tie. Usually we're pretty good, the whole league about like, following, the rules and everything. No shades of Hokovy, he was just trying to win the game, but it came at the cost of clutch, and I felt like that wasn't fair within itself. So, and then, the forfeit too, was kind of, it was a bit harsh, on Hokovy too. And then now we kind of like see like what's in place now if we violate these rules. So, yeah, but I'm just to say like you did your best. It's tough to kind of like handle these situations like right in the moment too, especially with like a lot going on as well. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt on this one. Yeah, I mean it's tough though, to kind of like oversee all of this when like a new situation arises. I remember last year, like when we had like a lot of disconnects, and then we have to like what is it? There was a rule last year where like basically if we disconnect, we're gonna have to replay the beginning of the inning, but we won't. We what was it? Yeah, replay the beginning of the inning, but we don't like have the same results as the last time. And then I remember you guys made an amendment for that one. You guys fixed that one up. So
yep, and
yeah,
you were part of that particular game that caused that rule change too.
Yeah, with Serbekovic. So like, and definitely like I always think about like going against my opponents. Kind of like with a fair sportsmanship. Like. To kind of keep things fair, like keep it balanced. Also, like I just want to be nice. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, I agree pretty much with everything John said. Of course, whenever the first decision came out, I publicly I said that the punishment was a little bit too harsh. My main thing was that it was told to him in the moment, and if I recall correctly, it was also in the rule book too, that this was just a 1-game rest penalty. I agree with the rule changing and everything. I just didn't think that it was fair to put that penalty on him after the fact, whenever he was under the impression that it was just a 1-game rest. And I completely agree with them having to replay it just because, he broke the rules and everything. I don't think that it was a fair win for him, especially with the situation that was going on. But the only thing is, I don't think that you could ever make it fair for both parties completely. I think that the fairest that we can do is the rematch, and I think that Morimoto has to be out of stamina to make it fully fair. But I completely agree with the rule change with the forfeit. If you don't have any pitchers remaining, I don't think that you should be allowed to just put somebody that has rest that just can't be out there. You should be forced to either use your dude on no stamina or use a position player. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
You can't just throw people that aren't ready out there.
Agreed.
That's just a pitching rest problem. If you are throwing people out there that have no or have rest on purpose because you don't have any pitchers, that's just your own pitching rest problem. You just didn't do a good enough job, and I don't think that the other person should be penalized in a way of a loss because you are able to put back in your whoever pitcher you like. Of course it was Sana that came back in, but it could have been anybody that came back in. We could have seen the best pitcher come back in.
Yamaguchi was there too, yeah.
I just don't think that's fair at all. I completely agree with the rule change.
Yep, but we'll talk about that rule change in a little bit. Slime, do you have any thoughts on the situation?
Nope, they described it perfect. They explained it perfectly. Y'all got it.
All right.
Sure.
Fair enough. But yep, I've said this as much in the second announcement that was made regarding the situation that I take full responsibility for my actions. This is a learning moment for me, and for me and the league admins as a whole. But I think we have something in place now that will help, at the very least, police this a little bit better. Because I know we've had a little bit of an increase compared to recent seasons with potential pitcher rest violations. So I feel like this is something that can be brought forward and maybe even strengthened in future years, because I know I'm starting to get some doubts in my mind about whether or not 1-game rest penalties are big enough or severe enough to deter players. So that's something we're gonna have to discuss in the off season, but that's just kind of how things have gone with that. With that being said, I do want to bring up the rule change that we are kind of referencing here. And that is this paragraph right here. So this is the rule change that was made because of this particular incident and some of the other incidents that have happened this season. So it reads that if a player that is supposed to be on rest makes an appearance as a pitcher in a game, whether by accident or on purpose, the players must immediately intentionally walk the batter and remove them from the game. And then that pitcher will then receive a 1-game rest penalty on top of any rest they may have accumulated prior to the game. So if that particular pitcher came in with 1-game rest, they will get an additional game of rest and they are out for 2 games from that point. So that pitcher, and a failure to do this, to intentionally walk the batter or remove the pitcher as defined, will result in a 1-game rest penalty for that player and a forfeit loss for the offending team in that particular game. So what we intend to do with this rule is kind of make it a bit severe to try to intentionally put in a pitcher that is on rest if you're out of pitchers. And this is like, so what if I do this? I can do this, but no, you can't do that now. If you don't follow this procedure, you get a forfeit, no questions asked. So that's kind of what we've done, and then we talked a little bit about forfeit games, and there's a section now on forfeit games where the league admins may declare it at any time for what they deem to be egregious violations of the league rules during a specific game, or declared by a player at any point before or during a game, only if absolutely necessary. But there are punishments for forfeit games, because if a forfeit is declared, the losing team in the forfeit will not have any rest deducted from their team, while any accumulated rest to that point inside a game will be counted. The winning team in the forfeit will have no rest accumulation for any of their pitchers used inside the game to the point of the forfeit, plus a normal reduction in pitcher rest of 1 game for pitchers on rest. So basically this is saying that, oh, I'm down 7-0. Oh, I'll just forfeit. Nope, you can't just do that. There will be consequences for forfeit games. So forfeit games prior to the start of the game will be counted as a 7-0 result in favor of the winning team, plus the procedures described. Forfeit games during a game in progress will add runs equivalent to a tie game plus 7 runs for the winning team in the forfeit for run differential purposes. So real quick, let me get you guys' thoughts on these new rules that came in. I know you briefly mentioned them in your comments about the Hokovy clutch situation, but what are your guys' thoughts on this?
I mean, I completely agree. If you break the rules, if you egregiously break the rules, I think that league admin should be, they should have the power to force a forfeit. I don't believe that a forfeit should be taken lightly. I think that it should be a very damaging thing to a person's season, because of course we want to deter people from breaking the rules and everything.
Nothing to be said. That's a good rule.
Yeah. I think that, like, I feel like this will kind of like keep us on top of, like, putting in people that we want to, putting pitchers that are that should be on rest, like keep them inactive for these big type of moments, like extra innings too. So I feel like that's big, and I feel like it's a good rule. It's a good rule, fair rule.
Okay, awesome. So that's kind of the big news that happened within the last week or so in the USA eBaseball Power League. But right now, let's go on to some happier stuff, and let's do a little recap of what went down in the Week 6 games that have been going down right now. Folks, there was a lot that went on, and we're going to start with the Smooth Jazz and Purple Hurricanes. Hurricanes taking 2 of 3 from Jeff DeBoss. 1-run games all around. Hurricanes taking Game 1 and Game 3, and the Jazz taking game 2.
We're still getting over the week before last horrible loss.
Yeah, that whitewashing by Greg there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still getting over that. The bats, they're slowly getting back there. It's just this usually happens for us. We usually start having bad things happen to us in the second half of the season during week 5 and 6. Since those weeks are now gone, I think we'll be good now.
Yeah, it seems like you were getting unlucky with some of the power hits lately. Is it just a matter of just not being like quite on time or anything like that, or?
I'm honestly not sure. I think I just lost my touch for a minute.
I think that timing probably has most to do with it. That would be my guess from what I've been seeing in the games. Of course, I'm not the home run hitter here, but that's just what I've been seeing. But yeah, this series was a very good series. All these games were very, very close. Jeff, he showed a big amount of heart in the series. His pitching was very good for the most part. Offense, kind of for both teams, a little bit more for Jeff. Just kind of wasn't there, especially in game 1 whenever he just couldn't get anything going. It's just hard. It's hard to win games like that, especially against a player like Slime. Even if he's cold, he's still gonna get some runs, unless he's playing Greg, of course.
Okay.
Oh man, that's cool. Dude.
I mean,
but yeah,
that's not an opinion.
But yeah, how
Sorry,
do you kind of come back from a 3-game series like he had with the Narwhals and just kind of, try to mentally reset after that and take on Jeff in a big week 6 matchup?
Oh, I got a good one for this one. I told myself this last season, and I should have been doing it a long time ago. Don't play to win.
Fun.
Just don't play to win. Just play to have fun, because if you want to play to win, you're going to be overthinking certain things and stressing out over the smallest mistakes. After I told myself I'm going to just play to have fun, we saw what I did last season.
Yeah.
When I told myself that, I just said, I'm going to just go in there, go against Zumi, hope for the best. Don't play to win, just play to have fun. If I made it to the playoffs or not, I just said I don't care. This will be the best series I've had.
And it turned out to be the case.
So to everybody out there, please go by those words. Just if you just play to have fun, and this goes with a lot of things, you won't be stressing as much as you should, because winning or losing in this case, losing sucks still.
What if I have fun by winning?
See, he's not a good example.
You put your whole worth in onto this, man.
See, Compass ain't a good example.
Winning's
Play
fun.
to have fun, everybody.
Play to have fun.
Because you'll win in the end.
That's a great philosophy right there, and I think I kind of shared that on my stream with the World Baseball Softball Confederation on Friday, in kind of a roundabout sort of way that, what we're doing here is we're just having fun playing Power Pros with people all across the United States and heck, all around the world, really. And that's what really counts with these competitions, is just having as much fun as possible. And that's what I love about this game,
Well, yeah. I still keep in touch with MSQA, even after our ePremiere 12, matchups too. And we still talk to Dachu here and there, and in our Discord chats too. So I kind of expressing the love of baseball to everybody. Even going into other servers, talking about MPB or even MLB too, any of the moves too. It just gets me excited. Just dang, there's other people that are out there enjoy the same things as, or have the same interests as us. and at least like a lot of cool opportunities too. Cause like, dude, like Dish, you went to like how many different countries in the last few years?
Oh gosh,
from all this?
for the last 2
Just
years,
comment.
really. I mean, we're talking Mexico City, Switzerland, Tokyo, Singapore. So that's 4 countries right there.
Jesus, world tour, man.
I have never done that much international travel in my life, but you know what? I love it.
Yeah,
That's cool.
you know, it is super cool. You know, just to even have an opportunity like this too. You know, for this whole league. You know, like we are playing for a spot and everything too. But I remember last year when I had that attitude, it was like, oh shoot, I gotta win. I mean, I didn't play the best. You know, especially against like very tough opponents. You know, I was 9-18, and then the second half of the season came by, and you're just like, you know what, this is just the game. This is just it's just literally playing to have fun. Even the players that you have too. You know, just trying to make something special out of it. Like if you just say like you have fun with it, it eases so much pressure off you. You know. My favorite series of this whole year was playing against Greg, and I lost 2 of the games. And it was probably one of my favorite series. It was my favorite series right there, because it was so close. We had like a lot of good moments in it. So like of course like it sucks losing. It just sucks losing. That's for sure. But I don't want to have it like ruin like my whole experience for all this. Yeah,
true. All right, so that was the first game of the week. Smooth Jazz and Purple Hurricanes. DC Delegates, Bariqua Islanders. That's going to happen in a couple of days, I do believe. So we'll skip that for right now. And we have the humongous Melonheads taking on the Sassy Squatches. Melonheads taking 2 of 3 from Brando Scotty and the Sassy Squatches, including a 12-inning victory. And then a pretty solid victory, in game number 3.
Yeah, this series was huge for Matt, huge for the humongous Melonheads. Of course, I've been preaching how much talent this dude has, how much I've seen him compete in the past seasons, but he really showed it here in a really, really good game 1. Super good, super entertaining. And even though he kind of got blown out game 2, he really bounced back game 3 and got that dub right back. It was a really good series overall, and it really showed a lot of things from both people, even though Brando Scotty didn't get the dub this series, but he still made that game 1 really close. Of course, 12 innings is nothing to scoff at. That's a super close game. And he had a very good game 2. So both of these competitors showed some good things, but Matt might be getting on a roll now, and his next matchup better look out.
Yeah, it's tough for Brando. These like the past few series, man. Just to close it out in extras, man. We feel you on that, dude. Yeah. Good bounce back in game 2, but Matt did take advantage, in game 3, getting those timely hits too, especially game 1, which was a pretty close game. My goodness, Brando and Scotty could not escape extra innings in one of the, at least one of these games in this series.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to zoom out here a little bit and kind of see, the Squatches have gotten into a lot of extra inning games this year. At least a few of them. I mean, we're talking one in week 2. He's had that 15-inning epic in week 3. Week 4, he actually won an extra inning game in week 4. Week 5, another extra inning game against YG. That was one of the better games this season, 9-8. Lost that one though, and then another loss in extra innings here to the Melonheads. I mean, we're talking he's at least had one extra inning game per week here, and just not been lucky in terms of these extra innings.
extra innings is a stressful moment immediately. Like it's, you go to extras, you're like, dang,
Yeah.
I can't screw this up.
You start off with like runners in scoring position already. You have a better
Yeah.
chance of the runners coming in too. It's really nerve wracking, honestly.
Stressful
Just even
for
with the
both.
lead. Yeah, very stressful. Just to start off kind of like that.
If you're the hitter, you're afraid of hitting a double play or hitting an infield fly. If you're the pitcher, you're worried about screwing up.
Yeah, it's tough because as a pitcher in extras, of course you want to force the double play since there's somebody on first. The double play is huge in extras, but you don't want to pitch too low or else you might give up the bunt, and the bunt is huge when you're batting in extras. I mean, getting both runners in scoring position with only one out, that's how a lot of games are won in extra innings. And I think that a lot more people need to start taking advantage of the bunt early on in extra innings. Of course, we sometimes see the squeeze come out. I've used the squeeze a bit this season, but I do think that bunting, especially whenever it's the bottom of the inning and you know that you just need one run to win, I think that we should see a lot more people bunting with no outs, people on first and second. Think that's really strong. I mean, that's how YG won in 2023 against Kengang in the USA Finals.
Yep.
Man.
What about your specialty though? The one thing that I still kind of fear every now and then, the hit and run in extras.
The hit and run, man.
Hit and run.
The hit and run in extras it's risky.
It could be a triple play.
That's true.
That's the worst
That's
case
true.
scenario. They do a triple play, and then you're like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, but if it's bottom and you swing and get the hit and run off, you just won the game. It's probably the best way possible.
Yeah, definitely a lot of strategies you can implement in extra innings. In fact, I feel like this is the more chaotic extra innings than we have in Major League Baseball with just the runner on second, no outs during the regular season. So,
Oh yeah.
pretty interesting stuff. So, Melonheads 2-1 against the Squatches, bringing them to the 6-win mark on the year. I do believe that's a better record than they had last year, if I recall correctly. I think they didn't get to 6 wins last year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Nice job, Melonheads.
Melonheads
proud.
on the comeback right now, man.
Definitely. We'll see how they do next week. We'll talk about their match in a little while. Next up, we have the Bay Area Rockets taking care of business against the Chicago Curve, a 3-game sweep to bring them up to 16-2 on the season. I mean, the Rockets, they are just unstoppable at this point.
Man. We'll see about next week against Big Sid. That guy's my kryptonite.
He took a game off me, so good luck.
I know, right? He's coming for vengeance too. Oh my goodness, I heard him in the last stream. I'm like, oh my goodness. Man. But for this matchup too, I mean, Clutch, he held me down. You know, like he had like 6 or 7 no-hit innings against me in that game 1. I mean, he was pitching out of his mind, you know, in the first game, and then, you know, I was the second game, I also kind of bursted out, you know, a little bit later in the game too. So like, I mean, Clutch can pitch, man. I mean, it was you know, what sucks though is like, you know, like the offense is just not there as like his pitching. So like, he yeah, I mean, he got me down to like, you know, only like a couple home runs, you know, for these games. I felt like I couldn't like, you know, swing at everything because like I was like hitting into a lot of outs. So and that way I was just like, oh man, I need to go back onto like goat mode and go on the like high powered like fastballs from Yojin again. So yeah, for me, like this kind of told me like I need to reset a little bit on offense. You know, and definitely pitching was there for me too. I was kind of surprised, you know, just keep him down to 0 runs though. So yeah. Good series. Good series for me, at least. tough though, hitting wise. That's what.
But yeah, I think one of the big takeaways, if there's any positive to bring out of this series for the Chicago Curve, is that they really did a great job pitching effectively to John's copyright in this matchup.
They really did.
And he didn't even use Daigo. He only used Daigo in the third game too, and I was like, come on. I was like, shoot.
That's what I've been hearing throughout your whole stream. I was like, all right, where's Daigo? Where is he?
Where is he? But even then, like 170, like I for some reason couldn't read it off the hand. But I felt like I didn't feel too confident when he came in the 8th inning. I was like, oh shoot. So it's tough hitting against him. But the other pitchers though on the squad too, like definitely like shut me down. So. Or like at least in the standard for me, like shut me down more than usual. That's what I know. I had some home runs here and there, but it was tough.
All right, so big sweep there for the Bay Area Rockets. They have been on an absolute tear lately. I want to say that they have won. If I can find how they did in week 2, yeah, I believe they have won 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe they have won 12 games in a row.
Oh my goodness. Knock on wood. Hope it keeps on. We're trying to go for 20, baby. We're trying to go for the Oakland A's.
Yep, it is. Yep, it is like 12 games in a row. That is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
John has been, of course, he's always been scary hitting, and of course shutting out clutch. That's huge. I mean, that just shows that he's well-rounded on both sides of the ball. He can pitch, he can bat, which of course there was no doubt about. We all knew this already, but he just proves it once again. Clutch, he did pretty good pitching. We know that Clutch is no slouch, especially on that pitching side. He's taken a game off me in our series, especially with that Daigo game. That Daigo is very tough to hit, but yeah, as I said before, the regular season championship at this point is John's to win because nobody can tie him. He's gonna win every single tiebreaker. You have to hope that he messes up and drop some games that he isn't supposed to, because you gotta beat him out in record. Can't beat him out in run differential at this point.
Oh man.
Hey John, drop some games.
Oh no. We'll see, actually. We'll see, because like it's literally 16, 15, 14 on the top right there. My goodness.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the standings in a little bit. Yeah, big 3-game sweep for John's copyright. Next up, we have the Rattlers and the Phantoms, and it was Dat Shadow and the Phantoms taking the series. A little bit of controversy in game 1 right at the end, though, with a no tag decision by the game, kind of deciding this game 1. Rattlers were up 3-2 at the time. Rattlers thought they got a tag in on Octavia on the base paths. Game said they did not, and led to a 4-3 victory for the Phantoms.
And sometimes it happens. I mean, sometimes the game, of course, it doesn't go your way. Sometimes it costs you. It's just something you got to live with. Of course, Power Pros umps, in my opinion, they're not perfect, just like regular umps either. I don't know how the video game umps aren't perfect, but they just are. I mean, I'm not going to say whether it was a tag or not, but sometimes you just got to live with the game really messing you up. Sometimes the animation doesn't go your way. Sometimes the lag doesn't go your way. Somebody sticks on the base. Somebody doesn't dive far enough, makes an error. Something you got to deal with sometimes. But this is a huge win for the Phantoms and Dat Shadow. Huge series win against a former playoff opponent, pushing himself further in that playoff hunt. it's going to be really scary. I mean, he's on a roll right now. He's beating some really top opponents, and for his first season, this is very, very impressive.
No.
Very impressive indeed. I totally agree with you on that.
Hate to interrupt the series for
Wow.
YG.
Yeah.
Wow. Just ended right now, man.
Wow.
And speaking of defense, like the misinputs over here, you know, are kind of
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, that
Yeah. It's
as we are talking about it, B Farrell just loses off a walk-off from YG in his series from a misinput dive from Mitsumori in center field.
Oh no.
Yeah, the
He
turf
tried-
demon got
Oh,
him.
no.
He tried to dive with the middle infielder, and Mitsumori dived.
I think it
Oh,
went
I
off for
hate
both
it when
of them.
I hate it when that
Oh, yeah.
happens. Oh my
that happened to
goodness.
me. That happened to me in ePremier 12, I think, against Benzone. It happens, man. So like, it sucks to say because like, you know, in times like that, it's just so disappointing whenever like, you know, the game kind of like either eats your input, you know, puts it in twice, or just even read it at all. It can cost you heavily, kind of like that.
Or when you're diving with the
Um,
shortstop and you're diving and then the dive goes to the center
Yeah.
fielder as well. I've
It
seen that happen a
registers.
lot of times too.
It happens a little bit too
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, and
That's,
unfortunately, you know, us league admins, we really can't do much when it comes to, you know, reversing what happens due to game mechanics, really. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. So like,
it's a tough
in times like
situation.
that, you know, I hate to say it though, is, you know, you gotta make sure you gotta score more runs, so you just, you know, pivotal stuff like that, you know, it doesn't cost you in the end, you know. It is tough though, you know. I think it did happen to me in one of the games where like I had Saru like right in the middle, and then he didn't even flip it the second. I was expecting a tag, and then the runner just runs right through him. There's no out registered there, but we got the out at first. So, yeah, it's, you know,
Yep.
stuff like that happens,
Defensive-
and it's total hard, man.
Yeah, defensive mechanics in Power Pros have been, I will say this generously, generously, jank for generations. So
For
I
3
mean-
decades, man.
I mean, even in the MLB Power Pros games, there were some questionable fielding decision choices by the AI. So it's been a thing for generations. It's not going to be perfect, and I can totally sympathize with MC Scales' situation in game 1 of his series, 100%. And I expressed as much to him as well. And, you know, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing that we league admins can do to reverse anything that was done because of game mechanics. Any calls that were made because of game mechanics. There's nothing we can do to really overturn those. So,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
but either way, you
As-
know, Rattlers did get a win in this series. Did get a win in the 3-game series in game 2, which is a
Living
very close game.
dangerously. Living dangerously with these one-run
And
games.
Every game was close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Scales has a bunch of one-run games here, or even like games that are decided by 2 runs. He had like, you know, definitely a couple against me. You know, like
Yeah,
one-run
he's
games.
been in some close games this year. 100%.
Oh,
Let me try find some here. Yep, couple games
Yeah.
against you, John, that were one-run
Yeah.
games.
And especially like, you know, with some you know, some
everything against the
unfortunate timing
Melonheads.
too.
Yep, everything
Yeah.
against the Melonheads. You know, another one-run game against the Bandits. You know, there's been a lot of very close games that the Rattlers have been involved in and just hasn't gone their way, and that's kind of what's contributed a little bit to the record that they have, 8-10. This could be like a top 6 team right here if some of those one-run games go a different direction.
the narrative can just change just like that. But yeah, it's a lot to overcome. Especially this late in the season. But I do think he's not out of it yet. He is so like we'll definitely go back into the standings a lot more. But there's more of a cluster coming up over there.
Oh yeah.
And I did want to mention for that shadow. Shohei Ohtani finally hit the bomb. Let's go, guys.
Oh, he did. Oh, thank goodness.
Ohtani hit a home run for that shadow, and it was awesome. Dude, it's such a power threat. Man.
That is great to hear. That is great to hear.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we had the Space City Comets and the Kang Kings, and this was a sweep for the Space City Comets. Game 1, not as close as the final score would have you believe, a little bit. And then, game 2, 2-0 shutout for Compass, and then 3-1 in game number 3. So let's go to the source here a little bit. Compass, your thoughts on that series?
I was very, very happy with the series. Of course, we all know the talent that Kang Gang has.
Oh yeah.
He said that he hasn't picked up the game in a week, but with that, we still know the type of damage that he could do. And of course, he still got 4 runs on me in game 1. I was about to mercy roll him, but he started coming back. He had me a little bit scared. But I felt like the series was very good. My power hitting is starting to turn up. It's getting to another level. But I was very excited about this series because not only did I sweep one of the top competitors in our league, but I also kind of reset my pitch rest a little bit, or my rotation for the playoffs. I wanted to make sure that both Asa and Phoebus got to go games 1 and 2, so that there was no way that to give me the least possible chance to get swept, basically. So I wanted those 2 people to run my games 1 and 2 in the playoffs, and I didn't pitch Asa to him. So if I face him in the playoffs, that'll be good that he hasn't really seen my Asa. But I'm excited to have Asa ready for game 1 and then Phoebus ready for game 2 in my pitcher rotation for when playoffs come around.
Slime, any thoughts?
Sorry, I had to step out for a second. Compass, long story short, yeah, you did very good. Your hitting was great. You hit dingers. Congrats.
Dang.
Don't get used to that feeling. Get used to that feeling.
No, I'm going back to contact.
Yeah, let's get this guy out of here, man.
All right. Yeah, I'm done.
For sure.
Just had to ruin it.
Man, I just do want to say for Kang too, good to see some of the power for him, start to show up. Naito hitting home run, some of the other guys hitting home runs too. It's definitely tough, going against somebody who has like a lot of experience, no lock on too. Yeah, I mean, keep your head up. Like these last, game 2 and game 3, pretty close and everything too. Yeah, it's just tough, in these type of games right here, these type of series.
Definitely. So big sweep for the Comets. That brings them very close to the top of the standings. Not quite there yet, but very, very close. We'll talk about the standings in a little bit. Then we had the Ghost Town Revenants and the Philadelphia Bandits, a series that wrapped up while we were filming. It was a sweep for the Revenants. What was the game 2 score, if you guys remember? Because I left it was 1-0.
I think it was also 2-1. I think it was also 2-1. Yeah.
Okay, so
I know that it was 2-1 at one point, but I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't fully tuned in to game 2 and game 3, of course, because we're recording this video.
Yeah, we're recording it while it's happening. And we're kind of like watching on the side.
That game 1 was something.
all right, I'm looking at the VOD, and it looks like it was a 2-1.
It was 2-1, yeah.
Yeah, the Revenants were hitting some bombs. I saw them hitting some bombs. They looked very good. Of course, the Bandits made the series very, very close. in
Oh,
this series.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Can't speak on games 2 and 3 too much. Of course, well, we saw the ending of game 3. It took the Revenants having to walk him off on a misinput from center field, which really sucks for him. But game 1 was super close. He pushed him to the limit. He was getting runs in extra innings. B. Farrell almost stole that game from
Yeah, he was up.
YG.
Yeah, he was up 4-3 in the 10th, I do believe.
Yeah, and YG was calling Abada to his number 1 op or whatever. He does not like Abada. And B. Farrell, he must have been stream sniping or something because he was talking about he's not taking Abada out. Abada's going to have to ride it out. So
I think it was just
The
taking a
fact
look at
that-
his pitching staff. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of pitchers
Yeah.
for that game.
yeah, I was just kidding about the stream sniping part. But
I know.
yeah. Yeah, that was a great game. YG, even though he doesn't like hitting off Abada, still comes through with the dub there.
Yeah, and that's a huge 3
And-
wins. That's a huge 3 wins for YG. That brings him up to 12-6 on the year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile, Philadelphia Bandits go to 6-12.
Tough losses for Beefrel too. Like both of those, all 3 of those games could have gone either way.
Game 1 and
Yeah.
Game 3 especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. It's just one of those would just be like good enough to kind of keep him in the hunt, but like it's a little harder for him right now to kind of get back into the the swing of the cluster of teams that are like right in the middle. Yeah. Pitch pretty good. Pitch is hard. Just the weak contact hits, kind of went against him. Especially like with some pitches like outside of the zone, in the last like few innings of game 1 and game 3. So, whoa, not much you can do, and also giving up home run, very, still very costly,
Yeah, and honestly, the Philadelphia Bandits, they've had a bit of an up and down kind of season, really, if you think about it. And it kind of goes to show there has been a little bit of rust with B. Farrell, but it's always like he's on the brink of breaking through. And there's still a chance that he can do well in the last 3 weeks. It's gonna be tough. I mean, he's got Slime, he's got Kang, he's got Matt. It's gonna be a tough road to try to get back to 500 for B. Farrell, who is by all means an outstanding competitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll
We've
see.
seen what he does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a little bunch of power. Good pitching too. I mean, we even seen it last year too, like the run differential that he had. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, our final matchup of Week 6 that has been completed, and that was the Subarctic Narwhals getting a sweep against Zumikaku and the North Shore Honu. This was a very, very close series in a lot of respects, including a no-hitter in game number 2 for the Narwhals. I believe that is our first no-hitter this season.
Wow.
Crazy. I think it was a perfect game.
I'd have to look at the box score of that one again once that gets posted, but it'd be crazy if that was a perfect game.
Yeah, I think I was talking to him in chat, and he said it was a perfect game. We can confirm with Greg. Say, but yeah, all close games, all decided by 1 run. Man, Greg likes to live dangerously all the time. And plus, Zumi doesn't know when to quit. I mean, that guy's a hard competitor too. I mean, it was a good series for the Narwhals too. I mean, the pitching definitely was there. Most of the runs were given off of those mistake pitches.
Yep.
That's the like kind of flaw you have when you use, only just like the regular type of pitching. Just pitch cursor. Two-tap does, alleviate a little bit of those issues. It does take a long time to kind of get used to and get, used to the timing as well. But once you get the hang of it, you'll minimize a lot of those mistake pitches that go down the middle. I haven't had that many, in the last few months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good pitching. Held Zumi Kaku. Held him down. We'd like to see like a lot of like big innings from Zumi, but we didn't really see much of that. He held him to only just a few runs. Off the starters of Greg. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and this was a series that I believe Greg on his stream said at the beginning that Zumi has had his number in the past, and that was 100% true. I mean, I believe he won the second season of EPL against Greg in the finals.
Yeah, this was a rematch of that final series, and that was even that one was so much fun to watch too. Also close games. I mean, shoot. This time around, Greg finally, came up and just took care of business.
Yeah. Compass, how big of a series is this for both teams, especially with the delta now between them in terms of the win-loss record? I mean, take a look at the standings here real quick. You got Greg the Egg at 14-4. You got Zumi at a very astonishing 9-9 here.
Yeah, this is really huge for the subarctic narwhals. This really pushes them towards the top of the standings and pushes them to where they can compete for that number 1 seed if John messes up.
Oh yeah.
If he would have lost this series or would have lost the game, it would have been a little bit harder for him to, take that number 1 seed. But now it's just up to John to mess up. If John messes up, he's right there for the taking. And for Zumi Kaku, this hurts a lot. He gets put in the pack where he's really fighting for his playoff life, but there's one person that I think is gonna make the playoffs through all the scramble. I think it's gonna be Zumi Kaku. We know all the achievements that Zumi Kaku has in EPL, former EPL champion. Last year he was the runner-up in both the regular season championship and the EPL championship. But if he stays around this point, it's gonna be looking scary for the top of the standing, because like you fight so hard to be at the top so you could get the easiest matchup in the playoffs, and then you got to go up against Zumi first round. That's scary.
Man.
You're facing off against a former EPL champion, a former EPL runner-up. That's tough for anybody.
Yeah.
If you face off against him, it's hard, and we know he steps up his game in the playoffs. Those big games are when Zumi thrives. I mean,
Yep.
it's gonna be fun, and especially right now with his record, we heard him say last year that he performs his best when there's no pressure on him really in the regular season. He said that whenever he lost that regular season championship in the last week, it's like the pressure relieved off of him. We could start seeing that a little bit more. We could start seeing him feeling a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more calmer.
Yeah, but but also in the inverse, you could feel a little bit pressure, especially given the teams that are right on his heels. You could also kind of make a case that you might feel a little bit of pressure to try to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that, but I know Zumi. He's probably gonna do what he needs to do. If he drops out of playoffs, it's gonna shock all of us. I'm assuming all of us. I don't think anybody on the panel has Zumi dropping out the playoffs, right?
No.
I think he might make it. I mean, I mean, not looking good for right now, but we all know how like good of a player he is. I mean, he always gives us a hard time, and he's like one of the best players in our community for no lock on. And I did want to mention too, this next matchup that he has is against Dad's Shadow.
Ooh.
So both of them are 9-9, and they're both in the 7th and 8th seed.
Oh my goodness!
So this is going to be a good matchup for this next week.
As of right now.
As of right now. So
can't wait
I'm looking
to
forward to
talk
that.
Can't wait to talk about that.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be a good one.
All right, so now we take a look at the standings as we head into week number 7. Obviously, there are still a few straggler games that need to be finished up, but as of right now, we have John's Copyright in the Bay Area Rockets at the top of the standings at 16-2, having won 12 straight games, 96 runs scored. He's more than likely going to break the 100 mark in the next couple of weeks, if not next week. Just absolutely outstanding season so far, but right on his heels, you got the Space City Comets at 15-3, Subarctic Narwhals at 14-4. It is going to be an absolute dogfight for the regular season championship and the automatic berth to the WBSC eBaseball Series USA Finals.
Goodness, it is going to be a fight. I can just slip up. Somebody else can move up on top. Compass and even Greg. Like, it's still like, I mean, I know Compass always says it's mine to lose. He's just putting pressure on me. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, because Compass is right there.
He's knocking on the door.
My thinking with that is everything. We are pretty close, but you're gonna have to beat John in the win-loss column. I don't think anybody. Who's second? Me and Greg are both second, and we would each have to score over double, or not double, almost double our run differential already, just to catch up to him. So both of us, we're just gonna have to pray that John, he's gonna start dropping some games. We gotta start sweeping some series. We cannot let our foot off the pedal, me and Greg. And I'm not sure about the logistics, but YG and Slime, not too awful far behind too. If they start going off, if all three of us start dropping off, one of them could maybe take a step up. I'm not sure if that is totally possible, but right now it's that 3-man race with me, you, and Greg. And I mean, you're in the lead. You have the win lead, and then the run differential just puts you so far ahead. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to beat John at the top.
yeah. That's tough.
Yep,
My goodness.
Yep, and then you got, like you said, YG and Slime, 12-6 right now. Kane Kings, they're right in the thick of it too, 10-8, plus 14 run differential. They're in 6th right now. Then you got Zumi and Dat Shadow in 7th and 8th at 9-9. Well, right now you have the DC Delegates and Hokovy through 14 games. We're going to be finishing up that 15th game sometime early this next week here. DC Delegates, they're at 7-7 right now. They're at 500. Then you have the Rattlers at 8-10. X-Long X at 6-8-1 through 15 games. That's pending a series with Shelly that's going to be more than likely played this week. Sassy Squatches and Brando Scotty at 7-10-1. They have the Humongous Melonheads and Matt at 6-11-1. Smooth Jazz at 6-12, along with the Philadelphia Bandits now. Then you have the Chicago Curve at 5-11-1 through 17 games. That 18th game is going to be finished up early this week. They have the Bariqua Islanders and Big Sid in 17th place at 4-11. And then the Wolverines and Shelly at 1-14. More than likely, they're going to be trying to play spoiler the rest of the season, given their current record at this moment. So looking at these standings, we talked a lot about the standings right now, but I want to focus on the top 3 here. John's Copyright, Compass, and Greg the Egg. And I want to take a look at their schedules the rest of the season. All right, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. Because for John's Copyright, right now, week 7, they're going to be facing off against Big Sid and the Bariqua Islanders. Then in week 8, they've got a date with the Ghost Town Revenants and YG. And then week 9, they're going to be taking on X-Long X to end off the regular season. Compare that with Compass's remaining schedule. You've got week 7, Compass. They're going to be facing off with X Long X. Then they're going to be facing off with the Rattlers in week 8. And then week 9, ending it off.
Week 9 is the big one.
With a big series against Greg the Egg. So this matchup right here could decide a whole lot for how the rest of this season is going to go. Subarctic
Maybe I should lose all my games. Make it more interesting.
Well,
sorry, my bad.
Throw some games, man. Throw some games.
Sorry, just.
Subarctic Narwhals, they have the Sassy Squatches in week 8, and in week 7 they have the DC Delegates. So when you take a look at these schedules, how do you kind of see this playing out, especially given the opponents that each of them have?
I definitely have a very tough couple of weeks coming, especially with that matchup with Greg, because both of us are gonna be very hungry for that number 1 spot. John, he's got to worry about that matchup with YG. That's gonna be a very, very good matchup, and that's gonna mean a whole lot to both teams. So I expect the fight to be put up there, but Greg, it's looking pretty all right for him until he faces me. Of course, any team can win some games off him, but he's not really facing any of the true top contenders.
Yeah, it's got a fairly, I don't want to say easy schedule, but a very favorable schedule for him the rest of the way. You're going to have
of course, Hokovy.
Hokovy, he can go off at any moment.
Hokovy and Brando Scotty, they both have the talent to take games off him, but if you compare that to what me and John face up against, it might seem just slightly easier in contrast.
But definitely a lot of chances, though, for the Delegates and the Squatches and even you, Compass, to play spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be too much playing spoiler as hopefully me trying to fight my way for the first seed, but all those series are going to be big series to watch out for. And if either one of them can get a game or even the series off on Greg, that's going to be huge for their series and trying to make the playoffs themselves. And we should be looking out for those matchups for them to try to make a statement against one of the top competitors in our league.
Definitely. Yeah, Slime, do you have any thoughts on the remaining schedule for either of these players?
Nope, I just can't wait to watch the games though.
Hey, you know what? I can't wait to watch these games either. It's gonna be a very fun rest of the season for all 3 of those teams. Even YG and Slimefall, they have an outside shot at potentially making it to the top seed. And that automatic berth, that is what people are playing for in the regular season. The automatic berth to the WBSC eBaseball Series USA Finals. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a very, very fun time coming up. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get to our predictions for Week 7. Predictions for Week 7. Right now, and apologies to John, but since the Bariqua Islanders have not played their series against the DC Delegates yet, we're going to be skipping your series against Big Sid here. We're more than likely going to be skipping Wolverines and Rattlers since the Wolverines haven't played their Week 6 match yet. So we're going to start off our predictions here with the Purple Hurricanes taking on the Sassy Squatches. Purple Hurricanes, like we mentioned earlier, they are at 12-6 right now. Then you have the Sassy Squatches at 7-10-1. So big series for both players. Brando Scotty trying to get an outside shot to the top 8 for the playoffs, because top 8 players make the playoffs. Slimefall trying to make a little bit of a run to the top seed. So, Compass, we're going to start with you on this one. What do you think about this series with the Hurricanes and Squatches?
Wait for the sassy squatches.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk. All right. So on the sassy squatches side, he's got some pitchers that I could see kind of messing up Slime. Mainly Mio. Mio is definitely gonna mess up Slime, but he's not ready until Game 3. But he also has Graviton Arai, who has a very good fastball, which Slime is good at hitting them fastballs, but the main thing is he's got that Tyrant ability, which is...
And Gyro Ball.
Yeah, he's got Gyro Ball, which is very nice, but Tyrant is a very good ability to stop them power hitters like Slime.
Can I just say real quick, Tyrant is... Like how John said he has a bunch of kryptonite. Tyrant's mine. Like, I just see it and I'm already like, dang, I ain't finna get nothing.
Negative 20 contact, negative 20 power. It takes a lot off the bat.
Yeah, but he has some pitchers that I believe can really mess up Slime and his power hitting approach. If we go to Slimefall, he's got a lot of his pitchers ready. His big one, Suzukaze, is not going to be ready until Game 3 too. Game 3 is going to be the matchup of Mio versus Suzukaze. Very good. He's got Alex and Azitsu ready for Game 1. Sakurazawa's out for until Game 2. Can the pitchers of Brando Scotty hold down the great power hitting that the Purple Hurricanes usually bring? It's going to be tough, but I'm going to say that Purple Hurricanes win 2 out of 3, and I think Brando Scotty's going to win the Mio game.
All right, John, what are your thoughts?
I'm thinking 2 out of 3 for the Hurricanes. I feel like Slime can definitely prevail against those fastball pitchers, especially Go. I can definitely see some home runs hit off of shoot, Graviton Arai. I forgot for a second. But we'll see about the Myojin game. It'll be very interesting to see. I definitely go for it, man. Go for some home runs on that one.
I also gotta say, he may have Tyrant, but he doesn't have Iron Ball, so I'm still somewhat good on that.
Yeah, but I also think that I gotta agree with John. Go. I would be extremely scared to pitch somebody like Go to Slime. Go is not the type of pitcher you want to throw to Slime. It's not a good matchup.
Yeah, he's got some short breaking balls on him. He does have a decent fastball, but like you said, Slime can be a good fastball hitter.
Yeah, fastball boost on him, man.
I wish.
But yeah, so Slime, what do you think it's going to take to do well in this series for you?
Practice against Myojin immediately the next day.
Not wrong. You're not wrong. So our 2 panelists that can predict the series here say that Hurricanes probably going to take 2 of 3 from the Squatches. See how that Myojin game goes. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a key one. All right, now we got the North Shore Honu taking on the Phantoms. Honu coming off of the sweep against Greg the Egg. Phantoms, you know, this is going to be a statement series for one of these players right here. We got the wily veteran in Zumikaku, the upstart in Dat Shadow. This is going to be probably the matchup of the week this week.
Both tied at 9-9, both fighting for their playoff spot, the 7th and 8th seed. This is a huge series right here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big series, man.
If we're going over rest, you got Shohei. He's going to be out for Game 1, unfortunately, but he still has Red, Octavia, Izuyoi ready for Game 1. Hokuto out until Game 3. I see Zumi probably struggling against somebody like Otani. Maybe somebody like Octavia with that nice forkball that kind of acts like a knuckleball, just kind of moves over wherever just thinking about it, you have the reigning EPL runner-up, an EPL champion, against somebody that has really, really surprised us with some of the opponents that they have beaten in this season, in their very first season. Somebody that has continued to shock us by beating these experienced opponents. You can call Dat Shadow the legend killer. I mean, he's out here killing these legends like MC Scales. I'm sorry, Zumi, but I got Dat Shadow killing another legend. I got him taking the series 2-3.
What?
Whoa.
Okay, bold. Bold.
That is a bold prediction, Compass.
Yeah, it's very bold, but I think that Dat Shadow can do it, especially with the momentum that he's coming off of and the bad momentum that the Honu are coming off of. I think that he could do it.
John, what are your thoughts?
My goodness. So with all this too, like we have a really good lineup in Dat Shadow's team. The Phantoms, power all the way through, and plus, like with a good discipline as well, it makes it even like harder just to even pitch to him. And he's starting to hit more home runs here and there. But we'll see, if Izumi starts to disrupt him with his pitching. I'm still gonna go with my gut right here. I'm probably gonna go with the safe one. Until further notice, it's gonna be 2 out of 3 for Honu. But man, we're gonna see a good matchup in this one. That's for sure.
Slime, what you got?
First, I can't believe Compass said that. He said all of that. Like you can't undersell Zumi like that. Zumi's a menace when he gets it going.
I know Zumi's a menace, but I'm not trying to undersell Zumi. I'm trying to sell how good Dat Shadow has been this season.
Wait, but Dat Shadow has been going. He has been going off. He finally got the Otani dinger. I'm proud of that. I didn't see it, but I'm proud of it. Give me 2 out of 3 for the Phantoms because I feel like he can beat them.
Wow.
Okay.
The panel is going with the Phantoms. Now, I thought that my pick was crazy. The panel going with the Phantoms, now that's crazy.
This is definitely going to be a matchup to watch, guys. I am looking forward to when this matchup is going to happen. I will need to be there. Straight up.
Yeah, this is going to be,
man.
This is going to be a great matchup. This is like
gonna,
the old versus the new.
Yeah, this is gonna I feel like this might define both of these players' seasons right here. Especially given that this is late in the season, especially given the records they have, the playoff positioning factors as well. This is gonna be fun.
If the Phantoms can win this series, I could see this jump starting everything for him past this season. I mean, we saw John, he started taking some games against some top competitors last year, really impressed some top competitors, and we've seen just how far he's come since that season. He really impressed iPump Plastic, somebody who's looked at as one of the top no lock-on players, even though he's not participating this season. He was very impressed with John, and since then John has gone on to be an E-Premier 12 competitor, 1 game away from Tokyo. He's right now at the top of our EPL leaderboard, just absolutely crushing it, about to hit 100 runs scored. But if that Shadow, he can get that going, if he could get that series win, I could see something similar happen with him.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
kind of like deja vu.
And let's talk a little bit about the schedule for the Phantoms. After this series, they have, let's see, who they got in week 8? Who they got in the week 8? The Phantoms, they have X-Long X in week 8, and then in week 9 they have the Sassy Squatches.
X-Long has a tough schedule coming up. I keep on hearing his name mentioned over and over again for these matchups.
That was it. That's tough. Probably easier for him. He has Kiba now.
So if the Phantoms can make some noise against the Honu, That's going to be an interesting week 8 and week 9 for the Phantoms. We might, barring anything, any terrible play, we might see the Phantoms in the playoffs.
Yeah, I could definitely see the
Alright.
Phantoms in the playoffs, and them having a playoff berth in their first ever no walk-on season, coming out of the relative unknown in the no walk-on world to do this, very, very impressive.
Definitely.
Not a lot of people can do that.
All right. We're going to skip the Subarctic Narwhals DC Delegate Series since the Delegates haven't completed their week 6 matchup yet. So we're going to move on to the Smooth Jazz and the Ghost Town Revenants. Smooth Jazz coming in at 6-12. Ghost Town Revenants at 12-6. YG coming off a big sweep of the Philadelphia Bandits. Jazz, they're coming off of taking 1 of 3 from the Purple Hurricanes. So, guys, what do you think about this matchup? Slime, we'll start with you on this one.
Shoot, I want to think. Like, I'm trying to really think about this one. Now I think the Revenants just had a good outing, pretty good outing. I'm thinking maybe they could take 2 out of 3 with their momentum right now.
All right. That's there we go. John, what do you think about this one?
I think it's going to be a good matchup right here. I know, like, B. Farrell held YG to some, very close scores and everything, too. I feel like Jeff has the potential to do that with some tyrant pitchers and try to minimize the power. But I do see YG sticking it out. So I feel like he's going to take 2 out of 3 in this one.
If we're just looking at the pitchers that are going to be out there in the series, of course, we have said in the past, Jeff and the Smooth Jazz have kind of lacking in their pitching staff. Of course, Papillon and Fuku, they're good in their own right, but they aren't like top tier. If you're going to YG, he's going to have Allen out there. He's going to have Doe out there for a game. He kind of has him outmatched in the pitching department. Smooth Jazz, we've said this all year, his bread and butter comes in that outfield, but the Ghost Town Revenants, they've been hitting really good for power recently, and they have a bunch of power bats. I don't really see them struggling that much against Jeff DeBoss's pitchers, and with the way he's been playing, with the point he's been trying to prove, climbing up the standings, I think that the Ghost Town Revenants are going to sweep.
All right, so our panel saying that the Revenant's going to win the series. Compass says it's a sweep. Slime and John saying it's going to be 2 of 3. All right. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Bandits and the humongous Melonheads. Philadelphia Bandits, as we all know, they're coming off a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Ghost Town Revenants. Melonheads coming off a 2 of 3 series, having taken 2 of 3 from the Sassy Squatches. John, what are your thoughts on this particular series here? The Melonheads have a little momentum. Bandits, we know their skill. We know what they can do. This is going to be an interesting matchup against a couple of PlayStation veterans.
Oh, yeah. Some good power hitters here, too, man. Good matchup. I think it's going to be very close. I mean, looking here, with Matt's squad and everything, he does have some decent pitchers here. Karama, Shindo, Tori, Suiko, and, the ace, Ansumuri, possessed. B. Farrell, pretty good squad, too. I mean, Raibukai, Yaku Mask, some Tyrant pitchers, and Abada. So, like, this one's going to be very, very tough. But I do see, because I like the Bandits lineup a lot, for this matchup, and I feel like since B. Farrell has a lot of Tyrant pitchers on his squad, I feel like that would minimize a lot of the power bats for Matt. So I'm thinking 2 out of 3 right here for the Bandits.
All right. Compass, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much took the words out of my mouth. This is going to be a very fun series against two players that we know can get the power bats going. As he said, the Bandits lineup is very, very good for power hitting, and he's got them Tyrant hitters, which, yeah, they minus 20 power. It's very hurtful to power hitter, and I think that I'll agree with John saying 2 out of 3 with the Bandits, and I think that the Melonheads are gonna win the Possessed Tatsumori game. I think that B Farrell is gonna have trouble with Possessed Tatsumori, but he's gonna take the rest of the series.
All right, Slime, what do you think?
Dang, I don't know. I haven't been picking these two teams based off of skill. I've been picking them because B Farrell's a home run hitting guy, and I like that. And I picked the Melonheads because I like their name. I don't know who to pick now.
That's tough.
Dang, I gotta keep going with B Farrell though, because that's a home run hitting guy.
All right, 2 of 3, sweep.
Give me 2 or 3. I'm sorry, Melonheads. I still like your name though.
All right, fair
Matt
enough.
should take that as a little bit of vengeance. He a little bit of a power hitter himself. He should go out there and start hitting bombs just to spite you, Slime. That's what I would do.
Yeah, win your hearts for both the power hitter, dingers, and the name.
All
If
right.
he went out there and started hitting dingers, I would be ecstatic.
All right, next up, we have the Chicago Curve taking on the Kang Kings. Kang Kings, like we said a little bit ago, coming off a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Space City Comets. Chicago Curve coming off of a 3-0 sweep at the hands of the Rockets. So a couple of players coming in with 3-game losing streaks at the very least. For the Curve, it's at least a 4-game losing streak. For the Kings, it is a 5-game losing streak right now. So who's going to break their losing streaks and get a dub here?
Ooh, hey, this is going to be a tough series to pick out because, of course, we know Chicago Curve and Clutch, they have some very good pitchers on their roster. They have Daigo, they got Onishi with goggles, some very good fastball pitchers, and then you got Yumashiro who really slows it down. You got Oda. That might be a little bit tricky for the Kang Kings to try to get those hits off of. We're going over to Kangang's rest. Of course, he's got Unkai on his team. He's going to be ready for game 2. Yamino's not going to be ready until game 3. But he's got the rest of his squad ready. I think that the Kang Kings are going to bounce back from last week, and I think that they're going to take the series 2-3, or 2 out of 3.
All right, John.
Man, I see this. Of course, I see a mini series going both ways, but for this one, oh man, I know like throughout this whole year I've been doubting Kang this whole time, and I know, oh my goodness, I like the Curve's pitching staff a lot more though. That's the thing. Shoot. Part of me wants to say Kang, but I feel like Curve might stick this one out. I feel like they have a very good advantage with their pitching rest. I mean, Onishi with goggles, with bullet ability, Daigo is still there, and you still got a lot of arms that are like in the helm too. So I think Curve's gonna win 2 out of 3.
All right, Slime, you're breaking the tie here, my man.
Oh boy.
Ah.
And this will be the last. And this will be the last prediction of the week, since X Long X hasn't done week 6 yet.
I'm kind of siding with the Curve as well, probably because Clutch is a good pitcher. He does have a good staff.
All right, you thinking 2 or 3 sweep?
Yeah, 2 or 3. If I could say 1 win, 1 loss, and a tie, I would have said that, but that's not gonna happen.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, so 2 of 3 for the Curve, say John and Slime. Compass say the Kings, taking 2 of 3. Very pivotal series for both for both players. Very pivotal series for everybody coming up in week 7. This is going to be a very fun week in the USA EPL. We will talk all about it next week. Guys, any final thoughts on week 6 heading into week number 7?
No more trades.
Trades are done for. Thank God.
Hooray, they're done.
We're gone, bro.
No.
The trade deadline has passed. The trade deadline has passed as of Saturday, so
It's going to be
We're
a
in
good,
there.
fun 3 weeks right here, man.
Yeah,
We're in the heart of
some
it.
Great matchups. This is where it starts getting intense. Of course, going into playoffs, it's going to be really intense, and then once we get into playoffs, that's where the top dogs all face it out, and that's going to be a whole lot of fun this year. I just can't wait for all of it. It's all so fun.
Long story short, it's preseason crunch time.
There we go.
It sure is. It is crunch time in the EPL with just 3 game weeks left in the season. Yep, and it is crunch time in the USA eBaseball Power League. You can follow the streams as they happen at EBP League on X/Twitter. That's going to be a fun time over there. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Rest of the year, just 3 weeks left. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. For John, Compass, and Slime, I've been Robert Tomlinson, the commissioner of the USA eBaseball Power League, signing out. Have a great rest of week 7, everybody.